Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ancient Warfare Answers with me, Murray. You can ask us a question, of course. We'd love some questions from you. You can join us via email, Telegram, send us a letter, call us up, phone number, or of course you can contact us via Patreon, Patreon.com/Ancient Warfare Podcast. There's 3 different levels of backer that you can be, even getting a copy of the magazine digitally or in print. Now, the question today is from Alex, which is, when is the last documented evidence for one of the original Roman legions being in existence? I remember reading about Legio V Macedonica being based in Egypt just before the Arab Conquests in the 640s, but I am unsure if this is factually correct. Many thanks. Love the podcast. Don't we all? Now, the interesting thing there, of course, is that, Alex, you are correct, which is great. Roman legions continuing to exist, falling out of existence, is a complicated issue. Because the number of Roman legions fluctuates, even under the Roman Empire. There's a fluctuation of the number of soldiers in the Roman army. There are legions with the same number but different names at various points in time. Some legions get subsumed into others, some legions get disbanded or disappear. Obviously, the 9th Legion, Hispana, disappearing into the fogs of Scotland is one of the most famous misnomers of Roman history. There's now evidence, of course, that it existed long after that, but that idea that it disappears in Britain persists and gets regurgitated without taking note of new evidence. So there's all sorts of interesting things. There are, of course, later sources, for instance, the material on King Arthur, which talks about him having legions in Geoffrey of Monmouth. It doesn't name any of those legions, which is problematic because, of course, the idea that King Arthur in the 5th century, early 6th century would still have remnants of the legions or the vexallations of legions based in Britain when Rome abandons Britain in the 5th century, problematic. Interesting, but problematic. So let's go through some of those legions and find out what seems to happen with them. A lot of them are mentioned, their final time that they're mentioned is actually in the Notitia Dignitatum, which mentions various legiones and vexallations of legiones. We've also got the issue that sometimes the epithet that we know for a particular legion isn't consistently applied, or as it's basically when it is used, it might be a mistake in either a manuscript or it's known by another name. So, for instance, Legio X Fretensis, Ammianus, who of course is a veteran himself, he refers to that legion as Ferrata, the Iron Legion. So, are we going to say, oh, well, Ammianus got it wrong? He's probably got more chance of being right than we have. So, what you've got is going through numerically. One Legio I Adjutrix, which is founded in 68 AD, possibly 69 from the members of the fleet. That's basically, we know of that until 444 AD. Germanica is founded by Caesar and then disbanded in 70 AD during the Batavian Revolt. One Italica is founded in 66 by Nero and post 400 in the Notitia. There's so many ones. One Macriana gets disbanded in 69. One Minervia, which is founded by Domitian in about 82 AD, either for his Germanic campaign or indeed for his Dacian campaign. We have evidence of it post 300. One Parthica is founded by Septimius Severus in 197, and again we have evidence of it at Nisibis post 400. 2 Adjutrix, which is again founded by Vespasian, probably again from the fleet. We have evidence of that in Aquincum after 269. 2 Augusta, which is one of the maiden legions in Roman Britain. So we've got evidence of it after 255 and even into the late 4th century at Retupii. So it stays in Roman Britain for a very long period of time. 2 Italica, founded by Marcus Aurelius in 165, and we seem to have evidence of it after 400. 2 Parthica, again, Septimius Severus, just to annoy us, 1 Parthica, 2 Parthica, 197 to about 350, and 2 Traiana, founded by Trajan, again, evidence of it existing. When it's founded is problematic. Is it founded before the first campaign in Dacia or before the second? Probably the second, but there's arguments for both. So around about 105 AD through to 400 AD in Nicopolis. 3 Augusta, again founded by Augustus, and we've got evidence of it after 350. 3 Cyrenica is founded by Mark Antony, interestingly, and lasts until after 400 in Bostra. 3 Gallica, again founded by Julius Caesar, and we've got evidence after 300. 3 Italica, founded by Marcus Aurelius, and evidence to it after 300. 3 Parthica, again, good old Septimius Severus. 1 Parthica, 2 Parthica, 3 Parthica. That's actually very hard to say quickly. Again, 197 to after 400. 4 Flavia Felix, founded by Vespasian in 70, and after 400 in Singdunum. 4 Macedonica is disbanded in 70. 4 Scythia is again founded by Mark Antony, and we have evidence of it at Zeugma in the 5th century. Now, Zeugma is interesting because Zeugma actually means bridge of boats, because that's where a bridge of boats was built, Zeugma. V Alaude is fascinating because I'm doing some work at the moment on whether it's destroyed in 70 AD in the Batavian Revolt, or indeed under Domitian in his Dacian War in 86. 5 Macedonica, the one that the question was asked about. Indeed, what we've got there is founded by Augustus, and there's evidence of it after 600. The sort of idea that it is mentioned late in 635 or 636, which is an inscription, so the best sorts of evidence there are, that it was in Egypt just before the conquest of Egypt by the Arab Conquests in 637. Amazingly, we therefore have 680 years of history for that legion, which is amazing. We've then got 6 Ferrata, which again founded by Julius Caesar, and evidence of it up until at least 250. 6 Hispana, again it's founded in the early 3rd century and then disappears by the mid-3rd century. 6 Victrix, founded by Augustus, and we've got evidence of it at York around 400 when Rome abandons Britain. But do remnants of it stay longer? Hard to know. I think they do. 7 Claudia, founded by Julius Caesar in 58 BC, and we've got evidence of it after 400 in Viminacium. 7 Gemina, by Galba, founded by Galba in 68, and again evidence of it after 400. 8 Augusta, Julius Caesar after 371. 9 Hispana, of course always thought to have disappeared in Britain, and we've actually got evidence of it later in 132 and maybe 161 AD, and possibly in Nijmegen, possibly fighting in Parthia and Judea. 10 Fretensis, founded by Augustus in 40 BC, and again we've got it in Syria after 400. 10 Gemina, 42 BC, founded by Lepidus, and then we've got evidence of it after 400. 11 Claudia, after 400. 12 Fulminata, fascinating legion about when it's named, because of course it's the Thunderbolt, but it's called the Thunderbolt very early in its history, but it's associated with the miracle of the rain under Marcus Aurelius in the 170s. And of course there's an interesting story that it's called that as a Christian origin story, and that's very early, that Christian origin story within the decade, but it's called Fulminata in the 1st century AD and even 1st century BC under Mark Antony. So it's really interesting, that one. But again, after 400. 13 Gemina after 400, which when they say after 400, they're all from the Notitia, which the Notitia Dignitatum is a list of officers split east and west, composed in the late 4th, early 5th century. We think that the eastern part is composed around 395, and the western part may be composed as late as 420. 15 Apollinaris is again after 400. 15 Primigenia is disbanded in 70. 16 Flavia Firmia, we're halfway. 16 Flavia Firmia post 300. 16 Gallica is disbanded in 70. 17, 18 and 19 of course are interesting because they are the legions that are lost by Varus in Germany in AD 9. So never again are those numbers used, which is why you get so many 2s, 4s, and other numbers. So generally under the Roman Empire, there's 30 or 32 legions. Sometimes when they get destroyed, a new legion is founded to replace it. But when you've had a legion destroyed like that, normally when they lose their eagle, of course they're never to be reinstituted, which is fascinating because 12 Fulminata loses its eagle, but it is indeed, it's not disbanded. So it's an interesting, inconsistent rule. 20, Valeria Victrix is founded by Augustus in 31 BC, goes to Chester in England, and as we know about it until at least 250, but it's possible it's still continuing in Britain under the Carausius and Electus. 21, Rapax is fascinating also because it seems to disappear in about 92. There's arguments that it is destroyed in Sarmatia under Domitian, but some people don't know that it is destroyed there. The other idea is, of course, it may also be destroyed by the Dacians under Domitian, in which case 2 legions are destroyed under Domitian. 22, Deotoriana, we've got evidence of it also in 2nd century in Egypt, but then it disappears. 22, Primigenia is after 300, possibly at Mogontiacum. And then Ulpia Victrix 30, which is Trajan's legion, which he seems to found just before his first Dacian campaign. And the reasons for that, of course, are by making a legion number 30, probably there are 29 other legions in existence, even though, as we just heard, there are some numbers you can't use. So even if there's 4 second legions, there's 29 in total. And so he has 30, the 30th legion that he founds. And again, we have evidence of it at Castra Vetera until about 400 in the west in the Notitia Dignitatum. So I hope that helps. You are indeed correct. The legion that we have the longest evidence for, and its epigraphic evidence, so very solid, is indeed 5 Macedonica in Egypt. So I hope that answers your question. But it's a fascinating history of how the legions stick around and don't. Join us next time for another Ancient Warfare Answer. Thanks.